Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our November Shotsuki Memorial Service, which is always combined with Kaikyoki, which is the memorial service for all of the ministers who served at our temple over the long history of the Higashonganji in Los Angeles. That's always combined with the November Shotsuki Memorial Service. And I don't think that we've ever read the names of the ministers who have passed away. And so I would like to take a minute to read off the names of the ministers who've served at our temple, who have passed away before us. The first minister was Reverend Junjo Izumida, Reverend Seido Chijiiwa, Reverend Genryo Abe, Reverend Shosetsu Tsufura, Reverend Tenran Mori, Reverend Kendo Mito, Reverend Aiho Suehiro, Reverend Yoshimaru Atsumi, Reverend Gisen Sato, Reverend Ichirai Sakamoto, Reverend Kokan Yasuma, Reverend Houn Tamayose, Reverend Kazuo Fujimoto, Reverend Kankai Izuhara, Reverend Daiyu Tachibana, Reverend Ogasawara, Reverend Shinyu Matsumoto, Reverend Shodo Yoshikami, Reverend Gyome Kubose, Reverend Ensho Ashikaga, Reverend Yuki Izuhara, Reverend Ehaku Nagasaki, Reverend Chiko Odate, Reverend Horyu Ito, Reverend Mokusen Miyuki, Reverend Hisashi Nitta, Reverend Tsuyoshi Hirosumi, and Reverend Yoko Saito. So those are 28 names that I read of ministers who've served at our temple and who have passed away before us. The reason why we have the Kaikyoki together with our November Shotsuki service is the first name that I read was Reverend Junjo Izumida, who is the founder of the very first Higashihonganji temple that was built in Los Angeles, and he passed away on November 24th of 1951. And so that's the reason why we have Kaikyoki together with our Shotsuki. The last month or so has been continuing of the crazy times that we live in. Today was the changeover to standard time, and I hope that you're all able to enjoy an extra hour's sleep. On the joyful side, over the last month and a half or so, I guess a month or so, we've had the Los Angeles Lakers win the championship. And then just recently, we had the Los Angeles Dodgers finally win a World Series after 32 years in 1988. I do apologize to our San Diego members who weren't able to go that far. Well, actually, were defeated by the Dodgers in the second playoff that we had. But on the but I think that the Padres are looking really good, and so maybe you'll have a chance to enjoy a championship sometime soon. On the other hand, though, we have the highest cases of COVID-19 that we've ever had, and we've had more hospitalizations and more deaths as well. And so we still continue to have to be careful, and we still cannot be able to welcome you back to our temple for our services. Just recently, on October the 20th, a very good friend and dedicated member of our temple, Mrs. Toshi Ashikaga, passed away. She was 102 years old, and I have to say that she was the healthiest person I ever knew who was over 100. And I think she was driving when she was still 99. I mean, well, she was driving when she was 99 years old, and her family finally told her that she needed to quit. And so since then, her son Hisa was driving her to the temple to attend services like our Shotsuki service today. You may have noticed that one of the ministers who were on the list that was read earlier was Reverend Ensho Ashikaga. And Reverend Ashikaga was Mrs. Ashikaga's husband, and he was Higashonganji minister. But most of his active years were spent as a professor at UCLA from way back a long, long time ago. And the fact that Mrs. Ashikaga was married to him certainly influenced her life as a Buddhist. But she was also deeply influenced to study Buddhism before she got married to Reverend Ashikaga, through her mother, Mrs. Shigeru Shimizu. And we all refer to Shimizu Oba-chan, to her as Shimizu Oba-chan, an affectionate way of referring to our grandmothers. And she was there for all of our services, and she was a devout student of the Buddha Dharma. And she would often critique the younger ministers when she thought that something was not quite right in their presentations. She gave me only encouragement because she really couldn't understand my talks because I only spoke English back in those days. And her younger daughter, Mari, was also very well schooled in Buddhism. And the two of them lived together in Boyle Heights, only a couple of blocks away from the old temple. Mrs. Shimizu passed away in 1992 at the age of 101. And her younger daughter, Mari-san, passed away 5 years ago in 2015 at the age of 93. I remember when Mari passed away, her older sister mentioned to me, "I thought my sister would outlive me. She was only 93, and Mrs. Ashikaga was 97 at the time." At any rate, in addition to longevity, they all shared a mutual love of listening to the teachings and attending services at the temple. After the small private funeral service that we had for Mrs. Ashikaga this past Wednesday, I started to think about the long-time relationship I had with both the Shimizu and Ashikaga families. And since today we honor the ministers as well as those who passed away in November, I thought it would be good to share with you some things that I learned from Reverend Ashikaga. Although his wife lived to the age of 102, he passed away at a relatively young age. He died on October the 21st of 1984 at the age of 74. My father and he were very good friends. They were only 1 year apart, and my father passed away almost a year after Reverend Ashikaga passed away. Back, I think it was before World War II and after the war, Reverend Ashikaga served as the minister of our temple. I think he was already teaching at the time, but most likely was able to deliver English Dharma talks where the other ministers from Japan weren't able. One idea we had was to publish some of the articles that he wrote when he was a young minister serving this temple in our periodical, The Way. And so today I wanted to share with you portions of an article that he wrote about Prince Shotoku. A little bit of an introduction. Prince Shotoku, or Shotoku Taishi in Japanese, has a very important place in our temple. I'm sure you've noticed him, but may not know too much about him. The scroll in which he's pictured hangs on the very left portion of our altar, where the two scrolls appear. The one on the very left depicts 7 priests, the 7 teachers in history that Shindan Shonin considered to be the most important contributors of our type of Buddhism, the 7th being Honen Shonin, who was Shindan's direct teacher. The others in history learned from through their writings. At any rate, the scroll to the immediate right of the 7 masters is a depiction of Prince Shotoku, and you may have heard or read that he is considered to be the father of Japanese Buddhism. It's said that if it wasn't for his contributions, Japan may never have become a Buddhist country. So in thinking about that, to think about Prince Shotoku as the father of Buddhism in Japan, and because of the deep respect that Shinran Shonin had for him, there is meaning in thinking about his contributions at our Shotsuki Memorial Service. I'd like to quote a little bit from the article that Reverend Ashikaga wrote about Prince Shotoku. The acceptance of Buddhism was strengthened by the accession of Prince Shotoku to become the regent, the ruler of Japan, in the year 593, when he was 20 years old. Buddhism was introduced to the country over 35 years before then, but was not embraced at the time. He became the founder of civilized Japan and the unifier of the country. His insight and wisdom came from the highest ideals of Buddhism and led to the creation of a nation inspired by the religion. When the prince had succeeded in introducing and carrying out those Buddhist principles in the basis of Japan, he summed up his ideas of how a government should rule. He established what became known as the 17-Article Constitution. Based on Buddhist teaching, the Constitution stressed moral and spiritual harmony between government and its people, between the superior and its subordinates, which became the basis of the government and the lives of the people. In addition, Prince Shotoku built temples and was adept at art as well, and is said to have created sculptures for the interior of the temples. Prince Shotoku was so popular among the people for his wisdom and benevolent ideas. When he died in 621, ancient chronicles say that the farmers stopped plowing and the women stopped their housework and said, "The sun and moon have lost their brightness. Heaven and earth have crumbled to ruin. Henceforth, whom shall we trust?" Japanese historians do not overrate him when they call him the father of their country's civilization. He left behind him peace where he found strife and anarchy, the light of civilization in the place of darkness of barbarism, the knowledge and practice of art and science where there had been none before, reverential observance of a religion which was destined to mold the character of his people for more than 1,000 years. In our service book also, we include one quote attributed to Prince Shotoku. It goes like this: "Let us cease from wrath and refrain from angry looks, nor let us be resentful when others differ from us. For all people have hearts, and each heart has its own yearnings. Their right is our wrong, and our right is their wrong. We are not unquestionably sages, nor are they unquestionably fools. Both of us are simply ordinary persons. How can anyone lay down a rule by which to distinguish right from wrong? For we are all one with another, wise and foolish, like a ring which has no end." This is from the 17-Article Constitution written by Prince Shotoku. As we look forward to Tuesday, the day of the election, we can see how far we are in this country from the ideals listed by Prince Shotoku. Basically, he is saying that a government should be for the people, for all of the people, and when you have a government that serves all of its citizens equally, then they in turn support that leadership. Also, that the rules and regulations, the governance, should be from the basis of compassion and understanding. Good encouragements for us living some 1,600 years after the time of Prince Shotoku. However, the prince is not merely talking about how a government should treat its citizens and vice versa. He's also referring, maybe even more importantly, to how we should treat each other. He may not have been an ordained priest, but his embracing of Buddhism and showing his people then and for all of us now that we should treat each other, not only those who agree with us, but especially those who are different from us, with respect and compassion. In this way, we can be inspired not only by him, but by all of the ministers that we honor today, and all of those who passed away in the month of November, not only to thank them for their positive influences on our lives, but also to think about all of the things that we can continue to learn from them. Special thanks to Mrs. Toshi Ashikaga, who devoted so much of her time and energy to our temple, to her husband, Reverend Ensho Ashikaga, for serving as a minister at our temple long ago, and for the articles that he left behind for us in our newsletter, The Way. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, thank you, Rinban. So we will have a Japanese Dharma talk after we sing Ondok-san and after some announcements. So next, we are actually going to sing Ondok-san. So stay tuned. Okay, thank you. Let's see, I'm not sure if we have any announcements. Is there anything? So our Hongo service will be coming up in a couple of weeks, November 15th. And so I'm 99.9% sure it'll be virtual. Actually, I'm 100% sure. And so hopefully you could join us for our Hongo service on November 15th. Okay, and since the overseas district abbot will not be able to join us, as we were hoping, just because of the whole coronavirus situation, we will have recorded video messages by the former abbot, the current abbot, as well as the overseas district abbot. So please join us on November 15th for our Hongo service. And I think that's about it for announcements. We will, we'll keep everybody informed about when families or when people can come to the temple again. But for now, we're going to stay safe and we're going to continue to stream our services virtually. Okay, so I think that concludes this portion of the service. Now we will have our Japanese Dharma message. So our Japanese Dharma message will be taken care of by Reverend Fujii.
皆さんおはようございます。本日はロサンゼルス別院小月法要にご参加くださいましてありがとうございます。 まだまだコロナの勢いというものは収まりませんが、皆さんいかがお過ごしでしょうか。本日も、少し仏教のお話を共有させていただきたいなと思いますけども、親鸞上人の師匠であります法然上人が読まれたお歌和歌にこういうものがございます。月影の至らぬ里はなけれども、眺むる人の心にぞ住む。月影の至らぬ里はなけれども、眺むる人の心にぞ住む。という、和歌がございます。意味はですけども、月の光が、照らさないところはないけども、月を眺める人の心にこそ月は澄み渡るのである。というのが、そのまんま、今の言葉にするとこういう意味なんですけど、これだとちょっと分かりにくいので、もう少し、意訳すると、月の光が照らさない場所はどこにもないけれど、ああ綺麗だなというふうに、月のことを思う気持ちというのは、月を見上げる人の心の中にこそあるというふうな意味です。ですからこの月の光に例えられているのは仏教の教えですね。ですから、仏教の教えだったり、阿弥陀様の教えっていうのは月があって月の光が照らしているように、常に、私たちを照らしてくださっている、仏教の教えっていうのは常に私たちの方に届けられているっていうことなんですけども、それを、真っ暗な夜の中、私たちが、歩いてて、それを見上げるっていうことがなければ、仏教の教えっていうのが私たちに届くことはないですし、私たちはずっと暗い夜の中を歩き続けることになると思います。ですから、大切なことっていうのは、その常に私たちを照らしてくださっているそういう月の光っていうのをまず見ることですね。で、そういう仏教の教えを、受け取ること、受け取って、で、それに従って生きていくっていうことが大切だと思いますので、その光に気がついて、で、一刻も早く、実りのある生活っていうのを、送ることができるようにするということが大切なんではないかなというふうに思います。その仏教の教えの、一番有名な教えっていうのは諸行無常っていう、教えだと思います。英語で言うとインパーマネンスというふうに、言いますけども、インパーマネンスだと、永遠なものがないっていうことですね。ですから、で諸行っていう言葉、諸行無常っていうものがついてますので、全てのことにおいてずっと続いていく、永遠に続いていくっていうものっていうのはないっていう教えだと思います。ですから、もう少し簡単に言いますと、当たり前だって思ってるものが実はありがたいことだっていうことに、気がつかなければいけない。そういうものが、実はこの世の真実なんだっていうことに気がつくっていうのが、仏教の、メインとなっている教えの一つだと思います。例えば、今の状況ですと、私たちこういうふうにマスクがないと、スーパーに行ったりいろんな買い物に行ったりっていうことはできないわけですね。でこういうコロナになる前でしたら別に買い物に行って何か野菜を買ったり、服を買ったりするっていうのは、当たり前のことですから何とも思ってなかったわけですね。それに対して嬉しいとか、悲しいとかそういう気持ちはなかったわけですけども、今はこういうマスクをつけて、ずっと生活をしていかないといけないということに少し、ストレスを感じてたり、もうマスクをつけずに自由に、旅行に行ったり、あと、そういうことができればどんだけ素敵なことだろうなというふうに今皆さん考えてると思います。 今は少人数でこのお寺に集まってこのサービスっていうのを配信してますけども、これまでは毎週ここの本堂いっぱいに人が集まってサービスというものをできたと思います。それはもう当たり前のことであって、皆さん中にはすごいありがたいなって思って仏教の話を聞きに来られた方もいらっしゃったとは思いますけども、毎週来るの大変だなとか、お父さんが来るから自分も参加しなきゃとか、そういう人もいたかと思いますけど、今、やっぱりこう思うと、なんというか、みんながここに集まって仏教の教えを聞けたっていうのはすごく当たり前だと思ってたけども、ありがたい時間だったんだなというふうに思います。いろんなことができませんね。レストランの中に入ってご飯を食べるっていうことも、週末の楽しみであったりしたものが、それは今できなくなりますし、人のお家に行って、みんなでパーティーしたりとか、そういうことも、なかなかできないですから、当たり前のこと、そういったものが実は、当たり前じゃなくて、すごくありがたいことだっていうことを、私たちは今学んでることだと思いますし、それが、本当はずっと前から仏教の教えとして月の光のように私たちに実は、届けられてた教えなんだと思います。ですから、本当でしたらこういうコロナとかそういう状況がなくても、常日頃のこと、買い物に自由に行けたり、友達と会ったり、お寺に集まったりっていう当たり前のことをありがたいことなんだなっていうふうに、仏教の教えを聞くたびに感じられてたら、その人の人生っていうのはすごく充実したものになってたと思いますし、今こうして実際に当たり前のものが当たり前じゃなくなった状況っていう場に身を置くことによって、身をもって体験してますね。で、こういうことをコロナっていう状況が終わった後にもやっぱり持ち続けれること、なかなか本当にこういう世界がひっくり返るようなことっていうのは生きてるうちで、あることではないと思うんですけども、こういうふうな状況になった。で、実際にこういうことを体験してるわけですから、この状況っていうのが良くなった後、私たちが日常に戻って普通にレストランでご飯食べれる、マスクなしで買い物に行ける、海外旅行にも行ける、みんなと集まれる、そういう日常に戻った時にそれが当たり前だっていうふうに思わずに、このコロナでの体験であったり、仏教での諸行無常、インパーマネンスの教えだったりっていうのを思い出すことによって、その当たり前の生活っていうのがすごく素晴らしい生活に見えてくると思いますし、その一時一時っていうのを大切に生きることができると思います。ですから、まだまだこの状況っていうのは変わる様子ではないんですけども、これが良くなった時にそういう気持ちになって暮らすことができれば、こういう辛い体験をしたっていうことも後々良かった体験っていうふうに変わっていくんじゃないかなというふうに思います。本日はこの月影の至らぬ里はなけれども眺むる人の心にぞ住む、そういう法然上人の和歌を紹介させていただきました。ありがとうございます。